the only plant that could feed you, clothe you, house you. I mean, it gives so much. How can it not be a gift from God? Like, how can it not be? It's perfect. And so I would think that God wants us to use it.
That's Micaela Machado from Old Pueblo Hemp Co. in Tucson, Arizona.
This is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast.
My name is Eric Harlock.
And I'm Sophia Cursius. Welcome to the Hemp Show.
This week we're talking to Micaela Machado. She's a general contractor in Tucson, where she is quietly, okay, maybe not so quietly, igniting the Old Pueblo hemp-building revolution with her passion, perspective, and positive attitude.
We'll hear about how she got her start with hemp, that aha moment that put her on the path and led her back home to Tucson.
We'll hear about Old Pueblo Hemp Co. and what Micaela and her community are building in the desert.
We'll get the details on the hemp-building fiesta, hosted by the Old Pueblo Hemp Co. on March 28th, 29th, and 30th.
All that and more after a quick word from our sponsors. This week our show is brought to you by I&D Hemp in Fort Benton, Montana, where they believe in the goodness of hemp.
What does that mean, they believe in the goodness of hemp? What is the goodness of hemp?
That's a great question, Sophia. If I had to put it as succinctly as possible, I'd say that I&D Hemp and the people there, well, they see the hemp plant as a gift from God full of goodness for humanity, food, shelter, clothing. Hemp provides all of these things and more, and now in these most uncertain times, hemp can help us rebuild our soils, our rural economies, our local communities.
Cannabis loves community.
Yeah, but hemp gets shit done.
Nice.
I&D Hemp is a mission-driven, family-owned hemp feed, food,
And fiber
company that's bringing new opportunities to farmers and manufacturers across the United States.
Check them out at indhemp.com.
This week, our show is also made possible with support from Americhon Cast Hemp, based in the beautiful Lehigh Valley of eastern Pennsylvania, where Cameron and Mel McIntosh are providing valuable educational resources for the hemp building community this spring, with workshops in Austin, Texas, the last weekend of March, and another in May at Americhon's headquarters at Wild Fox Farms in Pennsylvania. We'll have links on the show page.
And it's safe to assume that Cameron McIntosh believes in the goodness of hemp.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But he will often recommend that people pocket their reverence for the plant itself and focus on the fact that hemp is a rapidly, agriculturally, and annually renewable bio-based feedstock that can offset the carbon intensity of other building materials like glass and concrete.
So eventually all of our construction could be close to carbon neutral or even carbon negative?
Yep, the goodness of hemp is also the goodness of ingenuity and working together.
There's more to this hemp industry than I ever would have imagined.
Hemp is more than you think.
One more thing, a quick shout out to our friends at Forever Green,
distributors of the KP4 hemp cutter.
Check them out at hempcutter.com.
Hey, so last week I started giving you the tour of the show, and I'm wondering if you have any more questions.
Yeah, I do. And not really about the show, but more about the hemp industry. Okay, let me get this straight. There's the cannabis plant, and part of that is hemp, but part of hemp is industrial hemp. And that's what you're focusing on.
Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We focus on the industrial applications of the cannabis plant.
Okay, so now I kind of get your long and cumbersome name of the show.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, we focus on the industrial applications, the fiber and the grain, essentially, and the things that you can make from hemp as a material.
And so today we're talking with Micaela, who builds houses out of hemp. So you can build houses out of hemp?
You can, and people do, and there's a few different ways to do it. Let me give you a quick crash course in sort of the process, okay? Oh, watch your step. Follow me.
Ooh, back to the weird room with all the doors.
Lots of doors in here. Let me first show you a hemp field. So there's a farmer. He's out there mowing down a field of hemp with a sickle bar mower.
Okay.
And then that's going to sit in the field for a few weeks while it rets. This is like a biological process that kind of breaks down the lignins and the pectins that hold the fiber together in the stalk of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so once it's harvested off the field, they bale it up, and then you'll take it to a processor. There's not a lot of processors in the U.S. right now, but we're working on that. So once it's at the processor, the bale of hemp is split open and it goes through what's called a decorticator. And this is where it The hemp itself is it's like beat up substantially because it's a really tough material, and it breaks the outside hemp fibers. It breaks them apart from the inside hemp fibers, which are called the hurd or the shiv. And that woody core inside the hurd or the shiv, that's what they use for hempcrete. You take the hemp hurd once it's fully processed, and then the hemp builder will mix it with lime and water, and then you get this substance that's, commonly referred to as hempcrete.
Hempcrete. Sounds like concrete. Is it a replacement for concrete?
No, that's kind of a misnomer. So hempcrete is just sort of like a portmanteau of words, like they stuck it together, but hempcrete is not structural the way concrete is. Like you could build a concrete structure and it will hold the weight of a building. But with hempcrete, you have to have some sort of frame to hang the hemp on. Most people will build like a wood frame, like you would in traditional construction. But hempcrete replaces the need for a lot of other things like drywall or fiberglass insulation or that Tyvek house wrap. All sorts of these like toxic, chemically laden, petrochemical, heavy, carbon footprint kind of stuff that are ubiquitous now in modern construction.
Wow, does that make the house a lot healthier to live in?
Exactly, yeah. When you walk into a house made of hemp, you feel the difference immediately. Like the air is different, the smell is different, the way it sounds is different. It's really nice. I haven't even mentioned the mold and pest and fire resistance of hempcrete.
Wow, that sounds so amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm excited to talk to Micaela today.
I can't wait. But wait, Eric, what is that in the mason jar on your desk?
Oh, good call. That is one giant nugget of hemp news. Thanks for the reminder. This is news about the National Hemp Association starting March 1st of this year, so just last week, essentially. The NHA, they've announced that they will focus exclusively on advocating for industrial hemp fiber and grain. So this shift aims to maximize impact on policy, regulations, and supply chain development, reinforcing hemp's role in agriculture and the economy. So NHA highlights the economic and rural revitalization potential of U.S.-grown hemp fiber in industries like construction, textiles, automotive, and while also emphasizing the profitability of hemp grain as a rotational crop. NHA has been instrumental in advancing the Industrial Hemp Act of 2023, included in the current Farm Bill draft, which separates industrial hemp from cannabinoid or floral hemp for regulatory clarity. So while fiber and grain will be the priority, NHA says they will still support sound policies across all hemp sectors and will assist members in transitioning to organizations better suited to their needs. Wow, that's sort of a fundamental shift in the industry, Sophia.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and we will continue to follow this story. But let's go talk to Micaela Machado at Old Pueblo Hemp Co.
Let's do it.
Micaela Machado, welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're there in Arizona. I wonder if you could give us a little introduction.
Yes. So my name is Micaela Machado. I am from Tucson, Arizona. I am currently a general contractor. I went from being a sculptor to a landscape architect. Then I found hemp, and now I am a general contractor here in Tucson.
That's awesome. I want to hear, about sort of your origin story, how you got into hemp, how you got into hemp building. But first, tell me a bit about the business Old Pueblo Hemp Company.
So Old Pueblo Hemp Co. Old Pueblo Hemp Co.'s been in the works since about 2019, right after the Farm Bill was passed. My husband and I really decided to make a whole switch, and we were living in Florida at the time, but we knew we wanted to come back to Tucson, and Tucson is known as Old Pueblo Hemp Co. And so we packed up, went back to Arizona, and I didn't want to start the company until I became a general contractor. So it wasn't until 2022 that I got my license. So that's when we established the company.
Okay. So had you been in building before you found hemp?
Well, yes. So my background is my undergrad is in sculpture. I have a sculpture degree and a business minor. And I worked for many years as a sculptor and had a really great experience doing that, working for like zoos and aquariums and stuff, and was manipulating the landscape. And then finally decided to go back to school. Well, the recession hit, so we all lost our jobs. I was in California, decided to come back to Arizona, and I was packing up my stuff and watching The Real World. And the guy in The Real World was like, "Oh, I'm going to school for landscape architecture." And I was didn't even know that existed. So that kind of changed the whole direction of my life then. So I went to grad school and I got my master's degree in landscape architecture.
Okay.
And so have been on the job site since then. So definitely making construction drawings and been on the job site for a long time. So it wasn't that big of a jump to go to the general contracting side. So I just went from building and designing landscapes to building and designing homes.
Okay. Let's go back to the sculpture first. What was your like preferred medium there? What did you like
So
sculpting in?
actually, I was sculpting in cement. I worked for a company called Semrock, like cement rock. And so we would do artificial faux rock work for zoos and aquariums and hotels and, big water landscapes and stuff like that. So I was carving and painting cement that was mixed with a fiberglass reinforcement. So it's called GFRC. And so that's what I was painting or sculpting and then painting to make it look like rock.
Okay. So is there anything there that sort of informs how you're working with the hempcrete now?
Well, I'm good with my hands. Um, I uh, I think just being in that industry, I really like building and designing and seeing something go from a plan, a construction drawing to fruition is something I've always really enjoyed. So, yeah, so it was, and I was very happy doing this. By sculpting, I would have been very happy. I was no kids, not married, on the road, making money. I was very happy, but the recession really changed everything. But landscape architecture is great, and actually that's what led me to my love for sustainability. So if I hadn't gotten into landscape architecture, I wouldn't understand the importance of permaculture and native plants and harvesting water and solar power and all those kinds of things. So when I learned about hemp and how sustainable hemp is, well, that just like opened a whole new world for me. And I've always been a cannabis advocate. So when I learned you could build with cannabis, I was pretty blown away and very, very intrigued.
Yeah, well, tell me about that sort of aha moment. What was it like for you? What were you doing? How did it change things?
Yeah, so like I said, we were in Florida. My husband and I were in Florida at the time. He's a chef, and so he was busy chefing, and I was busy having babies. That's all I was doing there. And then when we found out about hemp, we just really talked about it and thought that this could be something that we'd really like to explore. So my babies were little at the time, so I couldn't go, but we sent my husband to one of the NOCOs. But he came back and he was just like, dude, this is something we've got to do. So we came back to Arizona and I was like, okay, I'm done staying home. I love being a mom and all, but now you can stay home with the kids. I'll get back to work. I'll get this hemp thing going. I'll get my GC license. And that's how Old Pueblo Hemp Co started. Oh, but I'm sorry. So I was like looking for any sort of experience I could get. And I found hempitecture. And that was also during COVID. So it was really hard to get out there and do a workshop.
Hmm.
So finally, when the airlines opened up again, jumped on a plane to Idaho, did the hempitecture workshop, and it was super, super awesome. And I just knew the minute I picked it up in my hands, because I'd seen it online, I'd read about it, but I've never touched it. I'd never seen hemp in real life. So when I finally did reach it and pick it up and smell it, and it smelled so good, and I lifted it up to the sunlight, and this beam of light came, and it just like illuminated it in my hands, and it was like this super crazy spiritual experience. And I was like, holy crap, this is like if there was ever a sign from the universe that you should be doing something, like that was it. So just followed that. And Tommy and Maddie from Hempitecture were just super supportive. And they invited me back to host some of their symposiums for them and just sort of introduced me to all the right people and just been going from there.
Yeah, you do a lot of like speaking engagements now around hemp.
I do. I do. It's definitely not my favorite thing to do. I get really shaky and nervous, but yeah, it's really important. The education part of it is so important. Every time I tell someone all the benefits of it, how great it is, they're just like, well, why aren't people building with it? And I'm like, just people don't know yet. They just don't know how awesome this material is and that everyone can build with it.
Is there like one sort of piece of educational knowledge that when you give to people like that really opens it up for them?
Um, well, definitely people want to save money, right? So when I tell them that there's a 70%, up to 70% energy cost savings, I think that really perks their ears up. And also the non-toxicity of it. I tell them there's thousands of chemicals seeping through these walls right now, dude, and we're breathing them. And every night we're breathing them. No matter how healthy your diet is, how much yoga do you do, every night we're sleeping in this Tupperware airtight toxic container. And so I think that opens people's eyes too. And I've seen some, clients because I'm a GC, but not all my projects are hemp yet, right? I wish, but so I've seen some clients, they do the spray foam insulation and I see like their eyes kind of like open and because they, you don't see it. It's behind your walls. It's something that you don't think about, especially if you're not building your home, you're just buying it. So you don't really see how it's built. And I've seen some clients just be like, "Oh my God, that's what I'm putting in my walls." And it's like, "Yeah, dude, that's what you're putting in your walls.
Yeah,
It's pretty
that
bad."
that new home smell that you get when you
Oh, I
walk
know.
in. Yeah.
I mean, the spray foam days, you can be nowhere near the home. It's almost like they're fumigating, bug bombing it. It's like you can't be you down the street and you can smell it.
So tell me more about Old Pueblo Hemp Co.
Yes, so and I really want to be and I like to call myself a natural builder because I'd like to explore all kinds of natural building. I'll specialize in hemp and I'll always promote hemp the most because I really see the value in that plant and how it can just be so good for everyone, the economy, but everybody, right? But I really like to call myself a natural builder because I love rammed earth and lavacrete and adobe bag, all of it. So I love all of that. But hemp is where my heart is for sure. And right now I am focusing on the prefabricated blocks, the prefabricated system. I think that every project is different and I can't wait to get my hands on the Ear Easy. This project that I have now will allow me to finally buy an Ear Easy system. So I'm super stoked about that. But right now I have been focusing on the blocks. And I've designed a three-piece block system and my custom Sinver RAM that makes three different block sizes. And with these block sizes, I can use different size and on center framing. And the framing can either be on the interior or the exterior. And my walls will always be a foot thick. So it's a really nice little system. And so that's what we're focusing on, the prefab stuff right now. I have found that the least amount of time I spend on a job site is how I can save money. And so sometimes spraying it and then hands off can be a problem for us. And then sometimes our projects are remote. We're out here in the desert. And so it's not so easy sometimes to get all that equipment there. So to save money, right now we're focusing on prefabricated stuff.
Okay. You mentioned the E-Reezy system, and for folks who don't know about that, that's the spray applied method where the hemp and the lime is mixed in a hopper and then sort of shot through a lance at a wall. Pretty amazing stuff.
Pretty amazing stuff, and I think especially for commercial projects, and which is what we really want to get our hands on too. If we were doing a sort of commercial projects, that's the only way I would. That's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about the projects that you have completed already.
Well, I've done a lot of feature walls, I'll tell you that. I've done a lot of feature walls. Everybody wants a feature wall. And but we haven't put a whole house together in Tucson yet.
Okay.
We did get the first permits for a build here in Tucson. So the city of Tucson, because the city of Tucson is actually pretty strict on their building codes. So yeah, everything has to be permitted. You have to be a GC. You gotta go through a lot of hoops just to get anything. So for the city of Tucson to give me the permits for a hemp house was pretty awesome. So we're very, very happy about that. Unfortunately, the client ended up having to redo their entire roof, and so they couldn't afford the new building and the roof. So the new building got scrapped.
That's a
Very
bummer.
sad about that, but
Yeah.
it's okay. We still took it as a win that we got the permits. And but we just scored a very awesome contract with Camp Cooper, which is a very iconic camp, educational camp, desert camp here in Tucson. It's like, this is the camp that we used to visit when we were kids. And they had the same existing CMU cabins there with no insulation, no heat, no cooling. And so it's really cool now that I get to be the one to insulate these cabins.
Comes full circle.
It really does. And yeah, this is a great project because it is a commercial project. So it's 6 cabins in total. We'll be insulating the cabins from the exterior. So this is kind of a new application. We're almost using it as a veneer and we're applying it as a veneer. So I'm actually using masons to help me do this. And so we're using anchor ties and we're tying it to the existing CMU. We'll leave the air gap. And so it's a new application, which is really fun too. And we'll talk about that at the workshop. But yeah, it's an exciting contract. It's commercial. It's funded by TUSD, which is Tucson Unified School District and the University of Arizona. So it's a big project and it was pretty nerve-wracking. They're, taking a big risk on a company that, was making it block by block.
Right. Are there other hemp companies in Tucson doing any kind of building, or are you pretty much the
yeah, not that I know
right
of. They didn't have a lot of choices when they wanted a hemp building. So I got lucky in that. But and then of course my friend Ray Clemens of Natural Building Works, he's the one who did a rammed earth wall there. And he knew the project goals for Camp Cooper. And he was like, hemp is the way to go. It's gotta be hemp and you gotta call Micaela and this is how it's gotta be. And it was great. I had a lot of big wigs come to my house and actually watch me physically make a block, and they wanted to see the whole process. So that was a whole nerve-wracking experience in itself. But yeah, like I said, they're taking a risk and we're super appreciative, and I know we can do it.
What's the block building facility like? Do you have I don't know,
so right now
describe the facility.
Yeah, we're renting a space. I'm in search of my homestead, my personal homestead space that I can have my, building workshop there. But until then, we are renting a space and we're collaborating with a really awesome company called Gap Ministries. And they're a Christian-based nonprofit organization, and they do all kinds of fantastic work around Tucson, from housing and fostering and free meals and Meals on Wheels. And I mean, the whole nine, you name it, free food, community banks, all of it. And they have a really, really awesome campus, and they've offered to let us use that campus. They also do job trainings, and they want to include construction in that. So, we'd like to be valuable wherever we are. We don't want to be just taking up space. So we're going to see how we can sort of trade skills.
That's awesome.
And it'll be really cool. Actually, they have like a culinary program, and the workshop, which will be held there at our space at Gap Ministries, the culinary students are able to cater our lunch and stuff.
There you go.
It's a great even experience for them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that workshop. It's is it the Hemp Fiesta, and it's happening the last weekend in March. So tell us a bit about that.
Man, it took me so long to come up with a name for that, and then I came up with the most basic name in the whole world. My husband was like, "What did you actually name it that?" We had like used AI to come up with all these funny, cool Hemp Fiesta, but that's what it is. But it's more than a fiesta because everybody's gonna learn so much, and it really has taken on a life of its own. I was not expecting it to be this awesome. I can't even believe it's happening.
Well, what makes it so awesome?
Well, the lineup for sure. I really wasn't even planning on doing a workshop at all. And then I posted about this project that we got with Camp Cooper, and Sergey, Dr. Hemp House, reached out to congratulate and said, "Micaela, we have to do a workshop." And so when Dr. Hemp House calls you and tells you, "Micaela, we have to do a workshop," well, you do a workshop. You don't turn that down. So now we're doing a workshop. But like I said, I wasn't planning on doing it. And it's tough right now, because all the financing is being pushed back. I planned on being in my workshop this week, making blocks, and we haven't gotten the financing yet. So we're pushing everything back. And, that whole part of it is stressful. But I know in the end, everything's going to work out just perfectly. Yeah. But yeah, we've got Sergey, Dr. Hemp House, and he'll be leading
Sergey Kovalenkov. He's the Ukrainian-Canadian hempcrete builder that is crushing it all over the world. Yeah.
All over the freaking world. I would, call him one of the world's best builders, and he's coming to Tucson, and he offered, and I'm just blown away. And then of course, so yeah, he'll be doing the educational lectures, and then he's going to be doing a whole cast in place demo and everyone will get their hands dirty and it'll be
Okay.
great. We're using hemp rebar, so they'll get great experience with that too.
Okay.
Then we have Danny DeJarlis of Lower Sioux,
Yeah.
superstar, another freaking superstar. And he'll be talking about spraying hemp. So we're going to hear his experience with the Easy system and see all the work that they're doing on the res. And then, of course, we're going to do a movie screening with Danny there, and he'll do a Q&A, which is a treat in itself.
The Green Buffalo film, the Patagonia film, which is incredible. Yeah.
Just unreal. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And there's so many special guests. Mary Jane Oatman, Tina Jones, Kate Curley, Thatcher Mickelsen's coming. Mickelson's coming. We'll be talking about hemp plastics and hemp for food. We've got Alejandra Diaz from Hemp Vortex talking about hemp for fibers and clothing. We're going to have a sustainable fashion show. I mean, it's just going to be, like I said, it's going to be bigger and funner than I ever thought it would be. Who else is on that? Oh my gosh, and Lawrence Serban. Lawrence Serban from Hemp Traders.
Sure, yeah.
He's going to give his farming and processing talk, which if you've never heard that talk that he gives, the PowerPoint he gives is one of the best presentations I've ever seen in my life. It's so informative and it's somehow hilarious. I don't know how he made it into a hilarious, entertaining presentation, but he did. And it's just, I'm so tickled that Lawrence is coming as well.
That's cool.
He's such a gem. He's such a gem. And then we'll do plaster workshops. We'll have a big demonstration. I'll show you exactly how we're going to be connecting the hemp blocks to the brick wall. And then we'll even do a plaster finish on those. So it's a lot of experience they're getting.
Okay. And so give me the dates again.
So the dates are March 28th, 29th, and 30th. And the 28th and 29th, the Friday and Saturday, those are the two big build days.
Okay.
Sunday, everyone's kind of trailing off and getting back home and getting plane rides and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a little farewell brunch breakfast type thing.
Okay.
But Friday and Saturday are the big days that we're going to put a lot of work.
Okay. And registration is still open?
Registration is still open. It's getting a little full. I'm like, oh my gosh, people are still signing up.
Do you have a cutoff? Or are you going to cap it?
You know what, dude? I just don't feel like I should cap it.
It's a fiesta. You can't cap a fiesta.
With this kind of a lineup, and we have the room. So like with this kind of a lineup, I would be so upset if I wanted to go and there was a cap and I just missed it. And I just feel like everybody should get this experience. So if it's going to make it tougher, it's going to make it tougher, but like it'll be worth it for everybody. I really do believe that. So
That's awesome. I love that. So, all right. Well, you heard it here, people. Go register and go to the workshop.
No, but yeah, people are signing up daily, and I'm just
okay. Can we talk about the cost of the event?
Yeah, so the cost is $250, and that includes the lunch. A very delicious lunch, both days.
Okay.
3 days, yeah. For the ones who can stick around on Sunday, that includes your brunch as well.
All right, cool. I've never been to Tucson, Arizona, so I imagine it's a fairly modern city where you can get around pretty easy.
You can get around pretty easy. Ubers are cheap. I'm trying to keep everything on the same side of town so that people aren't having to go everywhere. And but yeah, it's easy to get around for sure. And if anyone needed a ride from the airport or whatever, I'm happy to help.
All right,
never
cool.
leave y'all stranded. Yeah.
So I'll put a link on the show page for this episode. I'll put it up to, I guess, to Old Pueblo Hemp Company, and then maybe there's another link there to the workshop itself.
Yes. My website is terrible, but there is a link to the website now, or to the workshop.
All right, I'll find it and I'll put it on there. So did we cover your like hemp sort of creation myth well enough? Like that aha moment? Because I feel like there's something there that we want to dig into a little more. Because it's I think I read a quote from you in something else where like it's a gift from God, the cannabis plant. So maybe let's talk about sort of that spiritual connection.
Such a corny line to say it's a gift from God, but it really
it's not
a
corny line at all.
I mean, hemp is every day I learn something new, and it just I can't believe this plant exists. And it's beautiful. It's the only plant that could feed you, clothe you, house you. I mean, it gives so much. It gives so damn much. And so how can it not be a gift from God? Like, how can it not be? It's perfect. And so I would think that God wants us to use it. Right?
Yeah. Amen to that. Yeah.
Right? Amen.
Let's talk a bit more about some of your other like educational endeavors,
Okay.
because I get the sense from you that like education is key to all of this here.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, it really is. And I'm always willing to pay it forward and do those workshops and teach the classes and do the guest lectures, and it's a lot of work. And like I said, I get nervous doing it, but if if it's not us saying it who, knows about it, I feel like I was blessed with the knowledge, so I have this like responsibility to show it and to spread the word, and responsibility to my kids, to everybody's kids.
And and you never know who's listening and who it might affect, right?
Totally. I mean, yeah, it's really just gonna take, and I hate to say it, yeah, when that one celebrity, but like, oh my gosh, do you see how many people were at the Santa Barbara Film Festival and saw that film? Like freaking Kylie Jenner and Timothy
Chalamet.
Chalamet, whatever, like are in the freaking front row. Like they saw that.
They
They
saw it.
freaking saw that. They saw Danny. So it's gonna take some more of that. But holy
Yeah.
shit, this thing's about to blow up.
Yeah, I hope so. So speaking of Danny, and speaking of like you never know who's listening and who you're going to affect by your talk, the U.S. Hemp Building Summit in Austin, Texas. Maybe
Mhm.
you were a speaker there,
Yes.
and
Yeah. So, like I said, hemp Hempitecture was just been so incredibly supportive of my love for hemp.
yeah,
And so they did right after COVID. They hosted a building symposium in person the first year. And then the second year with all of COVID, it just wasn't possible. So they did a virtual one.
mm,
So they invited me back to host the virtual summit. And then the next year was in Austin and that one was in person. So they invited me back to host that one. And yeah, they just keep introducing me to the right people and putting me in these situations that I'm
right.
super lucky to be in. And like I'm fangirling one moment and then having a conversation with them the next. It's like it's stupid cool. So I owe a lot to Tommy and Maddie. I love hempitecture. I will always and forever be a huge fan of hempitecture.
Yeah. Well, Danny Desjarlais remembers you being the MC of that thing in Austin, and he
I
says
know.
that was the first day of the rest of his life. So, like, that's what I
Oh,
mean.
that's so
Like,
cool.
you never
Yeah,
know who's going to
that's
hear what you're
you.
saying.
I know. Isn't that wild? I know. It's so wild to connect with Danny after that time, and it's just so cool. Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, remember we hung out by the river?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, shit." That's so
And
awesome.
I saw you in Minnesota this past year. We were both at the opening of
I
the
could
hemp
not
campus.
pass up that opportunity to go to Minnesota, not only to celebrate what the freaking amazing work that they're doing at Lower Sioux. Just mind blown over everything they're managing to do there. But yeah, I had never, everyone's like, oh, you're a hemp expert, you're a hemp expert. But I had never even been in a hemp field. I had never even like walked through a hemp field and seen that and done it in person. So like, I was like, oh my God, this is my chance. This is my chance to like run through the hemp field. So I did that. And then of course they were doing the Ear Easy demonstration. And that's another thing I had been really needing to see with my own eyes and
Yeah.
really get a feel for that. And so I couldn't pass up the opportunity to go. And it was awesome. It was fantastic. I'm so proud of those guys and
Right.
hearing the work that they're doing. I mean, they are just they're so fantastic. And yeah, the fact that they're hosting the symposium in America
Yeah. The
next year or this
International
year,
Hemp Building Symposium.
international,
Yeah.
never been here. And that's the attention that Danny and the guys are getting. Ugh,
It's inspiring. Yeah. So great.
I'm over the moon. Yeah.
Cool. Well, is there anything else folks should know about the work you're doing out there at Old Pueblo Hemp or about the workshop or about, I don't know, anything? Here's your chance.
Well, I just hope that Tucson becomes a hub for natural building and specifically hemp. I think Tucson and Arizona is right for building, for processing. We have all the right weather and lots of land and to do it with. And like we're growing crops out here that we should not be growing. Alfalfa, barley, cotton. We should not be growing those high water usage high water used crops. We should be growing things like
Hmm.
cannabis. And so I'm really excited to bring just awareness to Arizona and with my position. So I hope that, I'll host more workshops. I hope that Tucson will be a place that if they want to learn about hemp building, you can come here at any time. You're always welcome to come and to learn about hemp. And I just hope to keep spreading the word and being invited to things like this and things like NOCO and any other speaking opportunities. I'm happy to do my part.
Cool. Well, it's awesome getting a chance to talk to you today, Micaela. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And hopefully maybe you'll get a chance to come out to Pennsylvania. I know Cameron does those e-Reezy sessions out here sometimes.
I see that definitely happening. And it's interesting, 3 years ago is when I hosted my first hemp building workshop. And I co-hosted that with Stephen Clark of Heaven Grown and with Lucas Evans of EG Ag. And this same weekend, we're all hosting our own workshops. Stephen with Heaven Grown and Pueblo Hemp are going to have a fantastic hemp and biocrete workshop. They're doing, sugarcrete. They're doing cococrete. They're doing hempcrete. So that'll be an awesome workshop. And then in Austin, Texas, with Amerisham and Lucas, they're doing an e-Reezy workshop. And then in Tucson, we've got the block making. So we've got 3 awesome workshops. It's funny that the 3 of us were together 3 years ago, and now we've all got our separate ones. But like I said, it's no competition. It's all love. Whether you're in Tucson or Tulum or Texas, you're in good hands. You're going to have a great time. You're going to learn a lot about hemp.
Cool. Awesome. Let's leave it right there. Micaela Machado, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Wow, sounds like they're going to have a good time in Tucson.
It's a fiesta.
Sure is, and the lineup of speakers is great too. It's like a mini who's who of the hemp industry right now.
I recognize some of the people she mentioned from scrolling through past episodes of this podcast.
Yep, I've interviewed some really cool people over the years. Sergey Kovalenkov, Mary Jane Oatman, Larry Serban, Alejandro Diaz. These are some of my favorite people.
Don't forget Danny Desjardins from the Lower Sioux.
I could never forget Danny Desjardins from the Lower Sioux.
And he's on the show next week with filmmaker Joel Caldwell.
Yeah, we're going to hear about the making of the Green Buffalo film and the impact it's having on the world outside of the hemp bubble.
So tune in next week. Anyway, I'm Sophia Cursius.
And I'm Eric Herlock.
Thank you for listening to the Hemp Show from Lancaster Farming,
the greatest agricultural newspaper in the world.
Hey, you're starting to get the hang of this.
It's not rocket science.
If you have any questions or comments,
you can always reach us by email. Send it to podcast@lancasterfarming.com.
And get the latest farming news at the Lancaster Farming website.
Be sure to sign up for the hemp newsletter while you're there.
Do it for Travis.
Oh, Travis. Anyway, until next time.
We'll see you in the newspaper.
Industrial Hemp.
This episode of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast is copyright 2025
by Lancaster Farming Newspaper,
part of the Steinman Communications family.
Today's show was written and recorded,
edited and produced
by Eric Herlock
and Sophia Cursius.
The music you hear throughout the show
is courtesy of Tin Bird
Shadow.